Okay, welcome everybody. We are live on the multiple channels. Today it's on LinkedIn, it's on X Twitter, it's on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, all of that. And for YouTube, I'm asking everybody please to subscribe. That is the only way for us to be not only motivated to create content and to have extraordinary guests, but we also need to see that you are also motivated. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here and welcome Diana Urbina, who is honoring me by being my guest today. How are you?
Good, Andre. How are you doing today?
Doing great. So Diana, Sharo Solutions, and it's not a promotional show. It's just because she's a coach, because she's an extraordinary person that I'm trying today to see how we can get to know her a little bit. And I know that out there is some coaches, some leaders out there, some people who are interested in people's development, in getting people in a better kind of situation where they can be the best of themselves. That's the idea. And then when they are, they can change the world. They can impact other people. They can really do by changing themselves and transforming different things. They can really impact the entire world. Okay, so this is why I think that Diana is so much of a match for that. And in the past, she doesn't know, but a year ago, maybe or maybe more, I had Madeline Blanchard, who was also a guest here. And I remember, we were talking about similar things because about coaching. But I know that you, Diana, and Madeline had a very close relationship, and you have been working with each other. So just to
Yeah.
let you know, she was here too.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay. So the embarrassing question is, would you mind, instead of me introducing you, to give a few words about you, how you get to where you are today,
Yeah.
and why you are there today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Andre. So, gosh, my first exposure to coaching was in 2006. I was working in Microsoft IT at the time. And back then, leaders had some quite dramatic sort of behaviors. And, remember those days of yelling in conference rooms, of sharing opinions in some not so healthy ways. And I was working on a big cross organization project, doing an OD sort of revamp of Microsoft IT. And our executive leader brought in a team coach. And that team coach worked with several of our senior leaders, transforming them not only to be better leaders, but to be better husbands. They were becoming better fathers. They were becoming better members of their community, just all through better listening techniques. We did some assessments to better understand what people's strengths were and how to outsource our weaknesses, the traditional sort of self-awareness approach. And I stepped back and I looked at that executive coach and I thought, this is mission-based work. He is transforming not only people, but I guess our whole environment through the person that's in leadership. And so I set out on a mission from that point. I ended up getting my own coaching certification through Hudson in 2016, and then working for Blanchard starting in 2020, doing and leading their executive coaching organization. And just in January, set out to do this on my own so that I could really, especially during this time of a lot of change and AI and other things that a lot of leaders are really fearful of, step in and see what we can do to really help them not just lead, but really thrive in their leadership, even though things are a little tense right now.
Yeah. Well, wow. Okay. I was also hearing between the lines something. I think things have changed a lot after COVID.
Yeah.
The profession of coaching became something else at that point because if there was any hesitation in the past about coaching, COVID made it like the
Mm,
trigger for a new generation, for a kind of a new chapter in the leadership world in general. But COVID created anxiety, sadness, mournings, and unfortunately for people who were unfortunate about what happened with this. And then the other side of this was that the paradigm of the work environment, the workplace, became virtual or absent. I mean,
mhm.
eliminated.
Yeah.
And you just still have to walk in the streets of Manhattan, where usually the big office buildings are, and still see at night when you walk. I mean, not at night. At the end of the day, you see that it's still very dark. They do not rent office spaces anymore because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
back to the office, but not in the same way. It's still hybrid. It's still this and that. So there is much less use of square meters to rent. So my point, to complement what you said, is I know you're very specialized, if I want to say it, or one of the theme is pressure, anxiety, uncertainty, and I think that's really in the mind of everybody. But since COVID, it has another kind of magnitude, how people can really deal with it. And I don't know, I did not think about putting COVID here, but this came, I heard it in your voice for some reason.
Yeah, I definitely see patterns too of the pressure mounting, right? The pressure mounted during COVID of leaders just trying to figure out how do they do this new world. And now, whether you've got AI pressures or political pressures or both pressures plus hybrid pressures, right? The pace and the sense of heavy weight on leaders just feels like it's constantly compounding. And so, yeah, more so than ever right now, I think it's just so important, whether it's us as coaches or whether it's us for our clients, to have somebody that can help us really check in on our thinking, right? How quickly can we get out of the fear-based thinking? Because we can sit here all day long and we can be in fear-based thinking, or we can be in another mindset of thinking, right? Positive or creative or whatever label you want to put on it. And sometimes we just don't really know how long we've been sitting in our own perpetual fear-based thinking without somebody saying, hey, here's another way to think about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's becoming a little bit prescriptive, no? There's another way.
There's another way. Totally. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Okay. But I think we are seeing a little bit the gaps. You using different tools like assessments, whatever. You can eventually interview and interact with the stakeholders that this leader deals with and have feedback for him on his behalf or her behalf. And you get really incredible information. Then you go back and you give that back to that leader. The leader receives it, processes it, and then yes, the thinking becomes influenced by that. And you say it's a mindset, but it's also, if they want to, and they, I think, very much willing to, they want to introspect, they want to reflect, and that's when you can start partnering with them as a coach.
Yeah, going back to the assessment, some people they get tired. They say, "Oh, I'm assessment out," right? But then the question is, well, how are you getting your feedback on how you're being experienced, whether it's as a leader, as a human, or any other aspect? If a lot of times we think we know how we're perceived, we think we know how we're impacting people, but once we get that feedback in a way where it's really safe for people to give it, all of those 360 sort of setup, when it's done really well, it either validates that, yeah, okay, people are experiencing me the way that I think they are, or it exposes, oh, what my identity is and how I want to show up in the world is not at all the way that I'm being experienced. Or maybe I'm being experienced that way, say, by my direct reports in my organization, but not by my peers, or not by my own executive leadership if you're not at the very top. So going back to your point, like checking in and figuring out how to check in a way where you can truly get a sense of how you're being experienced, to balance your own belief system with what's actually happening out there, I think it's critical for all of us.
Okay. With a reservation, though, I think there's different ways of doing assessments. The one I enjoy the most, by the way, is when the coach interviews those stakeholders. The interview is the interaction. I have the sense that they're focused and they're really telling the truth. When they are in front of a form, and answer 300 questions, are they watching the Super Bowl? Are they having a good time? The level of distraction is such that I'm not sure they're really answering those questions very focused and very objectively. So I always give that introduction when I debrief an assessment with a leader, and I say, well, give it a percentage credibility. And I think at the end of the day, what you might learn is things that talks to you. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
say this opinion or this feedback is accurate, but if it talks to you, then it is accurate, right? So if you
Yeah.
hear from the feedback
Absolutely.
something that resonates with you, then yes, you learned something. There's a takeaway. The assessment did its job, I think, right? Um,
Yeah. Can I poke a little bit though on
yeah,
that
yeah,
too?
yeah.
Um, yes. I mean, interview by far is the
I love it.
best way to get that information. And to your point, like to have somebody sit with you through it to figure out what do I really care about in this feedback and what do I don't, and have full permission to throw out the stuff that you don't care about, right? If it's not going to support you in what you're trying to achieve, move on. Um,
Yeah,
if it creates a reaction in you, right, having somebody to have that dialogue with can be really helpful for figuring out what to do with that reaction instead of sitting in that reaction for too long, and that surprise that we're showing up in ways that
yeah.
really feel attacking to how we want to show up. The value that I do see though in the instruments is volume. Volume of feedback, right? So it's really hard in an interview based situation, say, to interview all your peers, all your direct reports, all of your stakeholders, and correlate that into a solid set of feedback. That would take a coach or an interviewer a long time. So sometimes, having these instruments to go alongside the interviews can be really helpful for the broader landscape. To
Okay.
your point, yes, hopefully you have a broad enough people where, like, the people that are doing the Super Bowl and not like really
And
thinking about the questions, they can be sort of tossed out as an abnorm in the information, but at least you can see the trends of how you're showing up. And I think that's especially important, the more senior you get and the broader scope that you have of really understanding the culture that you're shaping.
okay. Oh, the culture you're shaping.
Yeah.
So two things you said that I think creates the, as we said, transition to the other topic. We are limited in time, so we cannot cover everything. But I want to eventually mention that, you said the way you want to be seen, the way you want to be perceived. And you want to be. I don't know if people really, in fact, think about it. I don't know if their leaders do think about it. And again, we have the level of distraction. I think I would put it this way for a generic statement about the 2026 leadership picture. What does it look like in 2026 in the world? Not only the
Yeah.
world, right? Corporate
Yeah.
world and organizational world. Not always corporate. It can be even an entrepreneur with 3 employees,
Right.
or a one single solopreneur, as we call them now,
Yeah.
like probably yourself and myself, solopreneurs.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
don't, preneurs. It's a funny thing in French. Preneurs mean taking, prendre, preneur. Preneur is prendre. It's not at all. It's funny because it's very interesting because it's exactly the opposite. The entrepreneur is
Mm.
always constantly giving, so it's not taking. But why do I say that's me? I'm thinking about a zillion things in the same time. ADHD. Sorry. But I'm getting to the point of transitioning to the way you want to be perceived
Yeah.
and the awareness that you want to be perceived. For some reason, and in the last few years, maybe, I knew it was there, but now I am sure it's there, is that you cannot lead without that. You cannot lead with this awareness that you are taking a responsibility. That's your leadership. You're taking a responsibility about the way you are perceived. You will not be able to do anything, have any impact, any leadership efficiency if you do not know what to do about being perceived the way you want, properly perceived, right? So that's where we meet again, Diana and I, and I'm just bringing it now. And I offered, and Diana accepted my invitation to join a small team right now to create a certification to coaches and to other people that are professionally dealing with other people, educators, therapists, social workers, all these people who are interested in supporting people, other people, to get to their goals, to help them, to partner with them, and achieve really incredible growth, incredible progress, transformational progress. And one of the key thing about perception, I thought, was the not only the awareness, but how do you come up under the spotlight, especially for those who hate to do it or think that they hate to do it because of their nature. Yeah. So thank you, first of all, publicly, Diana, for joining that little project, and also to Jeffrey, an actor, professional stage director. So we are 3 right now, starting this, launching it officially. It's an official launch, and it's going to start in May, I think May the 12th for the first cohort. And, you can hear me. You can go on the website called SpotlightMindset.com, and you will find all the information, certification, anything about SpotlightMindset.com. And I'm very proud of that name, Spotlight Mindset. It's bringing you the concept of being under the spotlight. All right, so thank you, Diana, again. Thank you. And this is exactly where I wanted to go to, not necessarily to make everybody aware of that certification program with all the ICF, International Coach Federation credits and all of that it gives you, but it gives you especially the tools. And for coaches, a resource for something that I think is one of the most powerful trend in leadership today. That's extremely powerful to give a leader at any level of leadership. Even an individual contributor in an organization is a leader, because if you're a project manager, you lead project with some other people too. So that's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited about Spotlight Mindset and being part of it. First of all, it's just a joy to be with coaches with an acting background, and to see how these beautiful tools that are used in that profession can be useful, practical, applied to really helping us show up the way that we want to be seen, right? Because that's ultimately the goal. Like, we want to show up in a way that truly represents what either the impact that we're hoping to have as a leader, the culture that I mentioned that we're trying to shape as a leader, but also just to make sure that we're in integrity, right? And when I say integrity, I don't mean a moral standing of integrity. Like, when I think of integrity and work with my executive leaders, it's about an integration of who I am with who I want to be. And how do I bring that together as tight as possible? And of course, morals is part of that, because most often as humans, we want to be stand-up citizens, if you will, and be honest and trustworthy and all the moral aspirations that we have. So that's always a part of integrity. But what I love about Spotlight Mindset is, to your point, it bringing really practical tools that are kind of new and insightful into this space for us as coaches to work with our clients on achieving that. Like, it's magnificent. And then to be able to work alongside such brilliant acting professionals, it's so good. Yeah, I feel lucky.
Me too. Yes, I was on stage when I was very young, and the experience of the audience and taking that responsibility of the spotlight. You're taking the times of people and you want to entertain them or make them cry. Sometimes it's emotional too. In my case, there was a lot of tears out there in the room, and sweat on the stage. Tears. So it was a very liquid kind of moving kind of things. Yeah, very, very emotional type of stuff. And then it stayed with me when I decided not to continue under the spotlight, another one. and start a career in the corporate world. And
Mhm.
I will tell you what I find to be most powerful here. Again, most powerful is that for not only our profession of coach, but for all the other people who are really helping other people. You talk about identity, you talk about integrity, truth, authenticity. All of those things can be only enabled if people feel good with themselves.
Yeah.
Someone who's lacking self-confidence,
Yeah.
that's a psychological thing, and we know that coaching and psychology are not, and therapy are not the same things at all. But the therapist is here to go back to the root of some kind of a problem that would be, in the way of someone being truthful or being connected to his
Yeah.
core or her core. And that's what I think you do, you especially, Diana, because that's the work you do. It's you start with that assessment, okay, and then you are going to help the everybody to make that connection. After that, Jeffrey, who is the actor, is going to make sure that you are aware of your body, your capacity, your capabilities, the
Mhm.
body, the voice, the posture, everything that a leader is visible with, and how to optimize that.
Yeah. I'm excited to go through the first cohort because,
Right.
well, I do executive coaching and I love to get underneath, some of the behaviors that are shaping how a leader is showing up. Um, I've also been in corporate for the last 27 years in various roles. And so I can be up in my head a lot, right? So the things that Jeffrey's going to bring to it around embodiment and awareness and how that's flowing and how our emotions are being exposed, whether we want them to or not, whether we think they are or not, they're out there. People experience us from a body awareness perspective before we even open our mouth, right? What is that thing that we hear, that statistic? I don't know where it came from, but I'd love to see the research behind it. Around 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Right.
And so I'm just so excited to go through that myself for my own
Yeah.
shifting from my thinking space into my full awareness space. It's going to be magical.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it very much too. So going back to Diana now a little bit more, I read a little bit your profile on LinkedIn today just to get a sense of
Hmm.
things that I didn't hear or didn't read. There are a few things that you're saying there that I really find very powerful. First is you say you are in fact helping people to work in their leadership without theatrics. I quote you. Then after that, I saw culture without chaos, building a culture without chaos. I think there is nothing more appropriate to bring to this world today than that. And then thirdly, I saw something about coherence, um, to to be proactive versus reactive.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you also an incredible leverage. If
Mm-hmm.
you come from the mindset of, and there is something like victims versus player, right? Victim,
Yeah.
if I'm the victim, I'm going to blame other people. I'm going to do all kinds of things that are not positive. If I'm the player, I'm proactive.
Yeah.
The leader does not do that for multiple reasons. Then it's a weak leader, right? It's something that's going to make the leader fail for sure. So that's why I was very interested into this background of yours and what you bring to the table with your clients, with your Sharo Solutions platform.
Mm-hmm.
You can elaborate more. It would be great, and a
Yeah.
good way to also end this little meeting today.
What was the first? I
Without the leadership without theatrics.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about that because it connects to Spotlight Mindset, right? So it goes to the heart of what we're going to be doing in Spotlight Mindset, right? How do you show up in a way that's intentional, but fully you? So I think of leader without theatrics is somebody who's out there just putting on a fake show. And maybe I have to come up with a better word because we're having this theater thing, but theatrics is more like fake acting, I would say, right? Really, that whole fake it till you make it nonsense that people can just smell right through, right? You're showing up inauthentic. You're changing the way that you show up based on different situations that just somehow does not align. Unlike Spotlight Mindset, where I think you guys we're setting the foundation, first of all, to understand who you are at your deepest core, how you want to show up, what feels true to you, and how do you bring that forward, right? How do you make sure you stay in that integrity as you lead in these really difficult situations? So that's what I think about the difference between leadership without theatrics, without the drama, versus leading with true essence of stepping into a character state, if you will, but it's fully you bringing that to life. And I'll save the rest for what we're going to do in that course, because I can't wait for you guys to see it and see how actors in the real world work with this. It's going to be amazing. So that's my expansion on that. On the culture without chaos,
Yes.
you know, I think about this quite a bit, that shaping culture is, I think, new to leadership development, say for the past maybe decade, right? Before that, nobody really talked about culture. Now everywhere you go, culture. And what happens in leadership is you are shaping the dynamics of and the social expectations and the behavioral norms. If you're just a frontline manager, right, for your direct reports, because you're setting the stage as to what's expected from them, what's not, how you're going to behave, how you're not, what's rewarded, what isn't. The higher up you go, the more influence you have, because you're influencing all of the levels of management below you and how they're going to behave, and therefore how they shape their teams, their individual teams, and how they behave. So the pressure becomes higher and higher, and broader and broader as far as impact. And so if you're not really aware of the impact that you're having, if you don't know how to observe people's behaviors, who shuts down in the room and when, who speaks up in the room and when, what's rewarded around here, what's shamed around here, right? All of those things, you're basically creating a culture out of chaos, right? It's just random. So hopefully you get what you want. Good luck with that. But there's a lot of intentional work that we can do to really create the environment that we want to work in, and that we want the people that we lead to work in. That's culture without chaos, a little snippet into my passion around it and how critical it is. What was the last one?
Last one, we have only a few seconds left, but
okay.
That was about proactivity versus reactivity. Yeah.
So when I think about proactivity, you know, you can wake up in the morning and you can just flail about your day. We'll just take it one day. Or again, you can be really planful about what you think you want to focus on, what you want to focus on, how you want to focus on that, and how you want to impact the people around you with how you focus on those things. So proactivity is just about really being planful about what you're going to do.
Yes. And that applies to every aspect, meaning
right.
There is unpredictable things. Things are going to happen, but I never believe in happenstance or coincidences. Okay, that's because of different religious reasons or faith. But I think that, and people don't have necessarily to be religious to realize that coincidences don't exist. So, so being proactive will give you some immunity or some protection. Whatever happens during the day, by being proactive, you're going to be, that's a mindset again. So that gives you a resource, a weapon, I don't know, to fight kind of any fights that's going to come. So you gain that, you connect to that, you stay focused as much as you can be, and you take this time to relax, right? To pause, to reflect, or stay connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Reflective.
Okay, that's the new leadership of today. I'm very promising, very optimistic about this. I think we're really in good shape. Diana, thank you for joining today. I'm sure that we'll come back together here, and maybe we'll have Jeffrey join us. We'll be three. Why not? Why don't we?
That would be great.
We could do that, because today was a little bit in the background about everything we discussed. Not only Diana, but this project of certification. So again, I invite everybody to go to SpotlightMindset.com. to sharosolutions.com, which is a separate thing. It's Diana, and the DNA of Diana. And then again, thank you. We'll see you the week after next. We'll have a replay next week, but we'll be back to live the week of the 27th. Thank you, everybody, and see you soon. Bye. Thank you. Take care. Thank you, Diana. Well.